Ever thought about how marriage traditions can be, well, a little out there? I mean, we've got rings, vows, sometimes even a whole bouquet toss thing going on.
Right?
But imagine a world where giving gifts to the bride's family isn't just a nice gesture.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, it's like a central, like really important part of the whole marriage deal. And that's what we're diving into today.
I am ready. This is going to be good.
We've got some really interesting research on this custom. You know, it's often called Bridewealth, and trust me, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, Bridewealth, it's not always about the money, you see. It's more like this cultural thing, you
Right.
know.
Right.
It's got this legal and social weight to it, shaping families and communities, sometimes for like generations. It's pretty amazing.
So we're not talking about a simple thanks for raising my spouse with like a blender or something.
No, no, not at all. We're talking about gifts. Gifts with some real meaning behind them,
Okay, like what?
like cattle, land, even services, sometimes, offered to the family.
Wow, that is different.
It's about recognizing the value that a bride brings to a marriage.
Hmm.
And it's like compensating her family for her, for the loss of her labor and support.
I've got to admit, I don't think I've ever thought about it that way before. So it's like an investment in the marriage, but also like recognizing everything the bride represents.
Yeah, exactly. It's about the present and the future all wrapped up in one. And this practice, it's not new. We're talking deep historical roots here. It's woven into the fabric of tons of cultures all over the place.
That's incredible. And it sounds like, and I'm looking at the research here, it even goes as far as like providing some legal protections for the bride. Can you tell us more about that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Bridewealth, it can be a really critical part of making a marriage legitimate,
Okay.
officially recognized within the community. It means the children, they're seen as legitimate heirs. And the wife, she gets certain rights within her husband's family, inheritance and things like that.
Okay, so it's about her standing her place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In some cultures, it can even go so far as to, it can even ensure she has the right to be buried on her husband's land, when the time comes.
Wow, I never would have thought of that. It really shows the really long-term implications of this exchange. It's not just about the wedding day.
No, not at all.
It's interesting. So it's not just about the here and now. It's about making sure the bride has a place, a secure place within her new family. And not just for her lifetime either. We were talking about the research earlier. And it mentions this idea of redistributing wealth. What's that all about?
Yeah. So that's where things get really interesting on like an economic level.
Okay.
Because Bridewealth can act as this way to kind of circulate resources within a community. And in some cases, it might even help to like balance out wealth inequality a little.
Really?
It's pretty amazing. You see, it has the potential to strengthen bonds between families too, creating this intricate web of support and obligation.
So it's like this tradition. It's not just about the couple.
All right, it's bigger than that.
It's about creating like a safety net for the couple, sure, but also for the entire community. It's incredible how something we might not even think twice about could be so deeply meaningful in other cultures. Like, for instance, the research mentions this. The Nuer tribe in Sudan, they use 40 cows as bride wealth.
40 cows. Can you imagine?
That's a lot of cows.
It really is. But it shows you how seriously they take marriage and family.
Right. It's a huge statement. But things change, right? Traditions evolve. How does this whole Bridewealth thing, how does it work in today's world?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It's something a lot of cultures are trying to figure out, and it definitely has its challenges.
I bet. So it's not as simple as saying it's tradition versus modern life.
Not at all. There's so many viewpoints. Some people, they're worried that Bridewealth is becoming too commercialized. Like the focus is shifting away from the heart of the tradition toward, well, just the money.
So they're worried it's losing its meaning.
Exactly. But on the flip side, you've got plenty of people who think it's still super relevant, a way to show respect and appreciation, commitment, all that.
So it's about finding that balance, keeping what's meaningful, but also adapting.
That's it exactly. It's a conversation happening in communities all over, trying to figure out how to make it work.
So we've talked about how Bridewealth can be this really powerful symbol of commitment and respect, but like, what happens if it doesn't happen? If it's not a part of the marriage?
You're getting at the heart of the matter. It's a question a lot of people have. See, in some cultures, if that Bridewealth isn't there, the marriage, well, it might not be seen as legitimate,
Really?
It's true. And the consequences, They can be pretty big. Think about it. Inheritance rights, the father's claim to his children, all of that can get really complicated really fast.
Wow, I have to admit, I didn't realize it was that serious. That's a huge deal. It really drives home that this isn't just some symbolic thing, some tradition people do just because.
Exactly. It's a binding agreement. It has teeth, you know. It's about making sure everyone understands the commitment involved. And it protects the family unit in a very real way.
So it's about more than just the couple, like we talked about before. It's about the whole family, the community, all those relationships, right?
Right. And it highlights this really important point.
Mm-hmm.
Bridewealth, it's not just about the stuff that's exchanged, the gifts or the money.
Yeah.
It's about upholding those deep cultural and social values. It's about respect, commitment, and making sure a family can thrive within their community.
It's amazing, isn't it? This whole idea, this bride wealth, it's so woven into the fabric of these societies we've been discussing. Legal stuff, social dynamics, family structures, it touches on everything. So as we kind of wrap our heads around all of this, what are the big takeaways? What's important for really getting bride wealth, you know?
I think the biggest thing to remember, and this is something the research really highlights, is that we can't just slap a label on bride wealth. Like, it's not right or wrong, simple as that. It's way too complex for that, you know? We're talking about traditions with deep, deep roots and how people view them. It changes and evolves over time.
So it's not a black and white issue, more like a whole bunch of grays. Different shades depending on who you ask.
Exactly. We can't forget the context, you see. Their history, their values, all of that shapes how a culture sees bride wealth.
It's a good reminder that we can't just assume we understand something just because it looks a certain way on the surface. What might seem strange to us, even wrong, could be totally normal, even essential to someone else, right? This whole deep dive, it's really opened my eyes.
It's been a journey, that's for sure. We've gone from the historical roots, dug into the social and economic sides of things, and even tackled some of the tough questions, the controversies that pop up around bride wealth today.
And to think it all started with this one tradition. It really shows you how much there is to learn, how much we can discover when we take the time to understand different cultures.
Absolutely. It reminds us that the world is full of these fascinating traditions. And if we approach them with curiosity, with respect, who knows what we might learn.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of bride wealth. But hey, the journey doesn't stop here. Keep that curiosity alive, keep those questions coming, and who knows, maybe we'll see you on the next deep dive.